I'm glad to be here. My name is Otavio Santana, and let's talk about the 3 steps or goals to achieve the mastering of the persistence with Java. We usually talk about the application layer side, the refactoring side, but how about the persistence? How we're able to handle that? So that's my topic for today. So hopefully you will enjoy, especially because we usually have a huge lack of documentation with database. I want to refactor in some code. I do have IDE. I want to refactor in some microservice. I do have strategy. Have several maturity models. Probably you know Glory of REST. But what happened with persistence? Is there any glory of database? Probably just database hell, right? Anyway, my name is Otavio Santana. I usually stay in Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube as at Otavio Java. Uh, it wasn't a good idea put Java there, but I was a teenager and kind of fanboy of Java. But anyway, let's talk about this topic. And my presentation starts with the spoiler. So we got the answer. So what are the 3 steps to achieve the good mastering of persistence? Business, isolation, and of course performance. So I put as a reference here 3 amazing books. So business with DDD, where you're able to understand a little bit more about the rich model, the entities. We usually think about DDD as a framework, a Java framework or any language framework. However, it's not true. Indeed, the DDD is a one way to guide your knowledge, your domain through the code, through the source code. So the idea is to convert a business plan to code. Isolation. The idea here is to keep your code or keep your business safe of the technology. Wait, Otavio, we are doing code. It's impossible to keep it safe from technology if you write technology. Is that true? Unfortunately not. Sometimes we got some exceptions, like Cassandra exception, or I am using my data bank, internet bank. So it's not cool to see things like that. And the last one is performance. We need to understand how to take advantage of database. Okay? Usually when I talk about, okay, the first step is the business. But come on, Otavio, it's not true. Or everybody knows that. It sounds like a cliche. But let's hear there is this amazing article here, the 16 obstacles to have a success project, where I enjoy to listen to the paradox ones. The high focus and planning in design. So we spend a lot of time designing code, designing architecture, understanding what we need to do, and do some design upfront and things like that. And then the next step, guess what? We got unclear expectation for the clients. So we spend like 2 weeks, 1 month, 3 months to design something that doesn't matter to the client. So how wonderful is that? It's like I go to the restaurant right now, I went to a pizzeria, or I go there, I sit there, I order like uh, some German pizza, I don't know, beer pizza. I don't know if it's possible. It'd be amazing if you do it. So if you're watching this in the future, it's because my idea we are eating beer pizza right now. So I'll wait there for 3 hours because the chief is planning, organizing, and then they give me a salad. And trust me, for Brazilian, it's like a cream. A cream give me salad. So you should give me beef. You should give me barbecue, but not salad. So that is the idea. So I went 2 hours, I ordered some pizza, and then received something else. And that is exactly what you're doing with our application, our business, our software. And okay, Otavio, if you are not doing code to the business, what are you doing instead? The step number 3 explain that with unexpected complexity. So we are putting a lot of unnecessary complexity instead of focus on the business. And the consequence is the poor collaboration between product and engineering team. Let's move on. And this article from Forbes is say it's common developer deliver a product that does not align with the client perspectives. So pizza, salad, barbecue, salad. So I want something, I receive something else as client. So it's not good, right? So it's not a good shape. Especially because as developer, as software engineer, we love technology. We have a huge passion on technology. And that is good, right? But at some time, is a bad idea, especially because we come to conference like that, learn new language, and we are just waiting for skills to use that technology. We don't care about the business at all. So it doesn't matter the problem. The solution is you can use your imagination right now. So you can use JavaScript, Java, Rust, Kubernetes, OpenLiberty, Jakarta, GraalVM, whatever. The point here is, are we really understanding what does mean engineering? Because if you go to the etymology of the word, it comes from Latin, that means be cleverness, be art, or be capable to create something. This sample here is come from the history. So software engineering is like a young engineering. So let's use the military engineering as sample here. So Julius Caesar decided to cross the river to attack another country with 40,000 soldiers. So what did he do? He created a bridge to cross this troop, the entire army, in 20 days. The point here is they did not build the bridge because of the bridge, because it was the most efficient way to cross the entire army. And that is the idea that we took from that and used in software engineering definition. So my favorite book is Modern Software Engineer by David Farley. It just says that software engineer is the application of empirical, scientific approach to find efficient, economical solution to problems in software. So the reason is the first step to any mastering of persistence layer. Indeed, the reason is the main core idea of software engineering overall. And we usually, when we talk about that, I know everybody starts to discuss about the strategy and tactic, architecture and design. It is out of our scope today to define what architecture is, what is design here, especially because if you go through several books that explain software architecture, each one might have a different approach, and guess what? Each one might be right. So the idea here is not to do a panel to discuss what software architecture is. Please take a look on these books so you can have some idea. For me, software architecture is when I put together people and software. When I started to do software engineering at college, I did my first mistake. I decided to become a software engineer because I hate people. So I went there because okay, I need to handle with server. I don't need to handle with people. And that was my mistake number one. So I choose another solution or professional, maybe vegetarian, maybe vet. Anyway, it's too late. And when you go to soft architecture, the reason, the why, the business is the core of the mastering of that solution. As I mentioned before, we usually, when talk about DDD, we understood that wrong. There is a misconception around DDD. The idea is the business. So that's why we have this strategy part where we go to ambiguous language, bounded context, and context map. And we have the tactical one with entity, value object, service, repository, aggregator, and so on. The second one that I explained was the isolation. There is this amazing book here, just an off soft architecture. And this book mentioned the abstraction as one way to fight against the complexity. So abstraction can effectively combat complexity and scale because string problems and smile problems are easy to reason about it. And when talk about persistence in Java, there are a couple ways to use abstractions. So if you go to the driver approach, you become closer to the code, to the database, and far from the business. So we are not hiding enough. So this one here is a simple code with JDBC. So as you can see here, I open the connection, did the result set based on the query, and then start to do the return of the information. This way, I'm close to the database. I can use data-driven approach. However, it's far, so I need to do a lot of boilerplate to convert that to my code. And on the other hand, I have the mapper idea. So I can use JPA, Jakarta NoSQL, and so on. So I have my entity, for example, person with a couple annotations, and be happy with that because I will go closer to my business. However, it's too far from database perspective. Sometimes we should not use, but sometimes we do like auto-incremented query. So it's create the structure by the entities, and it's supposed to be a crime as well. So don't do that in production. Anyway, you wanna listen to me is you doing the auto creation and the query on production. And we have more approach when talk about data persistence design partners. For example, the active record is become super famous with the Ruby on Rails. And right now, because of Quarkus, we can see a lot of that. So basically, the idea is I have my class, I extend some class that has several database operations like this, and then my class is able to do this operation. The idea is to simplify and put in a single place, in a single layer, my operation. However, I start to break the single of responsibility because right now my person is able to do database operation. And the last one here is my repository. So I can do several operations, put in my domain first, and far from the database itself. So the isolation has several guarantees. So I can go closer to the business perspective and far from the database, and that gives us some wrong idea that I should not care about database. And of course, it is not a good idea. And sometimes we got the classic mismatch impedance. Why? Because my application, of course, I talk about Java here, is object-oriented. So I use a lot of things that I enjoy to do, and my database does not know that. And I need to have a translation in the middle to convert to and from my Java application to and from my database. And that is the idea, right? So right now here, I only talk about relational database. So if you take a look here, in my application with Java, I have heritage, I have polymorphisms, I have encapsulations, do have different types that are able to handle that, where my database has no idea. And in the database side, I do have normalization. This normalization when talk about NoSQL, and I have unique structure. For example, as Vetter and Emily said, with NoSQL, I have key value, document, column family, and graph. And thus, unique structures belong to the database, but does not belong to my application side itself. So I need to have someone to convert to from. And the consequence of this is, of course, the power consuming. So there is several research but provided by MicroStream that said that the time that it consumes the query is the majority in this conversion. So if your query took 1 second, the majority of this query result on the application side is because the conversion to relational database, serialize to Java, convert to your entities, and then returns. Only 100 milliseconds is because the queue itself. So it's a huge amount of time. Especially when you talk about JPA, we are able to do some mistakes like the classic n plus one query and so on. There are several ways to reduce that. So you can, of course, optimize your query. You can understand better how to handle with this kind of thing. Because yes, you can use the isolation to protect you against that technology, to go close to your business perspective to achieve the goal. Remember, that is the first step. And sometimes do not forget about the importance of performance that you need to do with database. To do a sample here, I will use, for example, Eclipse Store. Like Michael said, it's a feature that tenants on our markets. The idea here is to reduce this translation mode. So I have this huge box of my conversion in my translation. And with Eclipse Store, it's a tiny translation because it will understand Java for you. So it's a demo time. It's time to pray that everything will work properly. The idea of the demo today is to work with Eclipse Store with Jakarta integration. And of course, I will do some demo with Jakarta data as well. So let's go to my IDE. So I know it's weird, but I enjoy the light mode. Sorry for that. I know. Don't complain. So what I do have right now here is my container because I'm gonna use the CDI. Okay. And then I will create some entities. I usually use soccer, but it's not safe to me. Come on, I'm Brazilian, I'm Germany. Probably somebody will talk about the World Cup that never happened on my mind. Please don't talk about this with me. I still cry a lot, so it's not funny. Let's use something else. Let's use animals because everybody loves animals, right? So it's impossible to complain with animals. So what can I do? So I will come here. I will start creating my first pet. That will be Emily. Do we have cat or dog? Neither. Come on, you're not a good person. By the way, who has cats? Who has dog? Okay, I guess dog win. So let's create first a dog. So what I'm gonna do right now, I will use the normal, the convention, right? So I will define my ID and then the name and then attributes. Because I only do have 30 minutes, I will have just three fields. So my ID, string ID, then the name, and then the breed. Okay? Because I don't have enough imagination, I will create a constructor that will create a faker dog for me. So I will create my public static dog fake that I will inject a faker here. And based on that, so yeah, I still learn how to use MacFin. I will the difference between fake and mock is the fake I will generate some random information based on this library. This is a faker. The mock will simulate that through some interface, so it's not real. That is an amazing book. Actually, everybody, does anybody understand that? The difference between mock and fake object or dummy object? The difference is with the dummy object, I will create with some information that is not on production one. And a mock, I will emulate this class or interface behavior. There is an amazing book by Maurice Anishi that explain a lot of the kind of things. The book is The Test Design Effective. Good question, Baron. Thank you for that. So I will create my dog here. So my dog will have the ID. I will return some UUID thing, random to string. Then this dog here, I will take the name and breed. Okay. So right now, what I do have, okay, let's check. I need to have my constructor. So right now, please don't complain with me. So right now it's okay. Right now I do have my constructor. I will do my getters using record style here because I don't do have time to do a fancy front end like Emily did. I will do that with my toString. It's work. Okay, please don't complain with that. So I come here. Okay, right now I do have my fancy front end. So I will return here to my app. So what I do have right now, I have my faker, I have my dog, not you, here. So my dog will return a faker. And what I want to do is to do my integration with any relational database or any NoSQL database or even any REST resource. On my business perspective, I don't care. Once I able to do optimization on my vendor. Okay, what I'm gonna do here is I have my fake, I have my dog. I will use annotation here to identify that that is an entity. Once I'm using Jakarta Eclipse Store, I'm using that integration with NoSQL because it is not a SQL solution. And then I will define the ID and the columns. So I will come here, I will define this little guy hi as ID, this guy here as column, where are you? So yes, thank you. So I define the ID, define the column, define the breed, And the next step, of course, is to return to my app, to come here and do the injection into the database operation itself. Of course, it is a simple, silly sample, and there are two ways. As Emily said, you are able to do the template operation, and or you can use repository. I will show briefly with the template and then go deep on my repository because it is a buzzword. Everybody enjoys buzzwords. So I do the container here, my select, the template, the class, and then I will inject this template class. So this class is between my database operation and my business class. As you can see here, I have no idea each implementation I'm gonna use. Just you know that I'm gonna use Eclipse Store, but on reality, as client, a Java developer, I don't need to do any pre-optimization, at least on this side. So what I'm gonna do, I have my template, I have the insert where I will insert my dog here, and then I will do some queries. So what can I do? I can do the find by ID, of course. Where are you? So here. So I can take the dog here. So doggy one, let's use my fancy front end. The result is no you, but you here, dog one. So what did I do? I create my template, I inject my solution here, and then I will run and hopefully it will work. So let's go to the console. Where are you here? So let's no you, no you. Oh, come on. That's why I hate Mac. Sometimes it's pisses me off. No, I'm gonna win you, Mac. Okay, I give up. You won this time. So I will run this time if without shortcuts, as you can see. So I got some issue here, especially because I need to let me check here. Yes, that is exactly what I thought. By default, the Eclipse Store will save that information in my local database. So you can do, if you wish, you can still use some folder, some place, or some integration with another database service. For example, you can integrate Eclipse Store with, for example, Amazon S3 or another relational database, or for example, another NoSQL database. Yes, you can use Eclipse Store with MongoDB, for example, with Redis, for example, with Postgre, for example, and so on. So what I'm gonna do right now here is to delete this data. I will come here, I will delete the targets, and then run again. And that result that I got, so the result is my dog, my ID, and Penny, where it is American Terrier. I did, of course, a super silly sample, and with template, what you can do the find, you can do the query. For example, imagine that I want to do my query by using dog, and this approach here, that is one good way because you can define using Fluent API. What does that mean? It is, I know exactly the next step of my query. For example, I want to find by name and order by the breed. So select dog where the name is Penny. So I will show my option here. So equals, in, greater than, like, and so on. So in this case, equals, penny, oops, and then another option. So I can take the result or the conditions. So find by name or breed or something like that, and then do the order by. So I can come here, I can use the breed, and then define the proper sequence. So ascending, descending, and finally the result. I set the result. So my dog's here. So let's write here to dog. So I will execute again. Let's dog, not you, dogs, and then execute. This time without shortcut. So I run it again, and I insert the new dog, Sasha, but I retrieved only the penny. Okay? Of course, we have more queries to execute here, so we can do the select, the update, the delete, and the good advantage of the template, it is safe to do queries. So I'm not able to do the order to execute the equals if without the where. I'm not able to do the where if without I have a condition first. So it's avoid that you do some mistake if you compare, for example, to query by text. Another way to do it is using a repository. So I will come here, I will use doc repository, for example, super conventional. You probably are familiar. By the way, who knows Spring here? I guess the majority, right? So who is familiar with Spring Data? Oh, nice. That is the same idea of Spring Data, but converting to a specification. Like we use a lot of inspiration, like Werner and Emily said. So we took a look in Spring Data, Micronauts, Quarkus, so on. Took the idea, merged, and bring a specification. So what I'm doing here, I do have my dog repository. I have my interface. That means I don't need to care about the implementation at all. And what I need to do is dog repository, I will extend to my pageable repository. And then I need to define the two parameters. The first one is my entity type, and my second one is my key value type or my ID type. So dog, and then my string. And to activate this repository, I only need to define one single notation, that is repository. And that is it. I don't need to fill up anything else. Doing that, my dog repository is able to do a couple of operations. So for example, if I come here, instead of inject the templates, I will inject my dog repository. So for example here, so containers, select, dog repository. So I will inject this little guy here. And right now I can do the operation. So the main difference right now is I have one layer more if you compare to templates. If you remember, we do have we usually use relational database, right? So we do have the JDBC, the mapper converter, the data access object because you know exactly the operation that you want to do, like insert, update, delete, and so on. And one layer up is the DDD repository. Hey, Otavio, I'm using Spring. I don't care about it at all. Yes, you should not care about it, but interestingly, Spring is doing that for you. So it's few layers, layers, and layers. And remember, more layers might be performance issues or might be performance impact when you do that. So instead of use template right now, where you can imagine a data access object pattern, I will eliminate this. Oh, and then replace with repository. So I don't even need to do insert update anymore. So right now it will save. And what does that mean with save? With the save method, doesn't matter. The repository idea is check if information is there, it will update. If not, it will insert. It may vary of NoSQL database and SQL database. For example, when you talk about NoSQL database, for example, Cassandra, is the same operation. So insert and update are the same. Indeed, if you check the documentation, update is just a link to insert. So it's exactly the same. So my doc, I will save my repository here. Instead of inform my class, what I'm gonna do is repository and then find by IG. So I can use the same idea here. And instead of do this query like select dog where name what I can do is I come here and do my query. Any vendor is able to do your translation way. So of course, when you talk about repository with relational database, it will convert to SQL. NoSQL, it may vary. Like with MongoDB, gonna be binary JSON. With Cassandra, Cassandra query language, and so on. But on the client, the user, Java developer perspective, I don't care. So I do the query here, and then I do find by name, order by breed, and then that is it. So I can come here and then name. The behavior will be exactly the same. So I come here, so ordered up by breed, and then I will replace everything here with the repository. I remember it was Penny, right? Something like that. And you can also return all the docs. Find all, for each, system out, print, len. Let's put some information here. The all values. And then execute it again. So I come here, I execute. Right now here is returning the all values. So Sasha, Charlie, Penny. And when I do a query by the name, it will return, of course, Penny. Who is familiar with JPA? Please raise your hand. Who have the adventure to run pagination with JPA only? Who enjoy that? Okay, just a single person, so congratulations. But usually it's not trivial to do that, right? You need to go to Stack Overflow, check right now, ChatGPT, something to do, any advice about that. And the idea here is with the pagination, we don't need to care about this, at least no so deep that we usually have anymore. With the pagination, you can abstract that. So I got the O values here defined by, no, no, don't run again. So what I'm gonna do is create a pageable, my pageable. I said my pageable. And what can I do is define, for example, the size, the number of page. So on this case, I will define the the size of 2. Of course, if you wish, you can define the order, you can convert to query by key set and so on. But in this case, let's do the pagination by 2. And what I'm gonna do here is return my pageable. And when I do that, it will return for me a page. So right now, what I do have is my page of docs. So what can I do? Of course, return the elements and then the next page. Okay, so the next pageable. So I come here, the next pageable, and so on. It's all coming through. So I come here, and using this one here, the next page, I can do the same method, repository, find by, all, next pageable, and so on. The idea here is to simplify the process. So as user, I don't need to go deep on that details. Okay, come on, each one should I use? If I'm using Oracle, should I use limit? Or if I use Postgre, what should I use instead? The point here is, as Java user, a Java developer, what I'm doing here is doing the abstraction. So I'm saying that I want a pageable of the maximum of 2, then return the information and then go to the next. Of course, if I wish, I can start with the page number 2, 3, so on. So I come here and you can define the order. So sort by. So let's use the name as definition. So I come here, I define the order by, and you can combine as well. So you can do a query by the name, order by this, doing the pagination, and so on. So use your imagination to do queries and break the implementation. Yes, there's a good question about the string. So if I decide to change the name to something else, it will break again. The specification itself does not cover this part, but what you do have, at least in Eclipse NoSQL, is a processor notation which will read that from your entity and create this query for you. Okay? Does that answer your question? I don't know if OpenLibet has something similar to relational database. Hopefully they will do. Okay, there's a good question about, okay, if I do a mistake in the typo, and when should I got the exception? The answer will, it will vary from providers. If my provider work with building, analyzing the metadata in annotations, for example, using CDI Lite like Quarkus, Micronauts, on the building time, it will check, read, and break the build. Like, okay, you do something wrong. Please verify. Oops, what's happened? My time is over? I don't think so. Oh, it's over. Okay. I hate you, Mac. Uh, if it happen, it will break the build. Or what can you use instead if on the runtime you're able to run and check that runtime? So the specification right now is open to you. So if you want to go to the Micronaut way, in Quarkus way, in the build, or on the runtime way, on the runtime. The specification itself does not make it mandatory. It's up to you. And if you wish, you can do both. You can run, verify, and also verify in runtime using reflection, for example. My time is over. The idea that I showed to you was a silly demonstration of the entity using Jakarta combined with Eclipse Store. But the idea here is it doesn't matter. So I have my entity with a couple annotation, my repository, and then I can do my adapter doing validation runtime, doing validation build time, whatever. And the database itself, if you go through the DDD definition, it doesn't matter. The point here is I need to do optimization to this specific vendor. That's all for today. And most important, the main goal here is to go through simplicity. So everybody that might start to remember that moment in your life that we learn. So we did simple code, learn design pattern, try to put as much as possible, and then saw that become more hard to understand the code, and then return to the simplicity that is for me by Leonardo da Vinci, the ultimate stage of sophistication. So that is it for today. Java Champion, Oracle Ace. I'm working Java since Java 8, so if you hate Java, blame it on me. I try to do my best, but Java is hard sometimes. Apache commit, Eclipse committer, Jakarta, microprofile. In summary, I don't have social life, so I spend more time doing code instead of having friends. And that is it. Thank you, and see you around.